Olá, bem-vindos à Igreja no Mundo, o programa da Fundação AIS. Sou Paulo Wade e hoje vamos ver um filme sobre a Roménia. A Roménia foi um dos países do chamado Bloco de Leste onde imperou a ditadura comunista e onde a Igreja mais foi perseguida. Há imensas histórias de padres, de irmãs, de catequistas que foram perseguidos apenas por causa disso, por serem cristãos. E hoje vamos conhecer uma dessas histórias, a história de Tertullian Langa, que apesar de ter sido preso, ter sido torturado, nunca renunciou a Deus.
Ca unul care aveam strânse legături cu episcopatul nostru,
Being one of those who had close connections with our episcopate,
de la București,
who knew the nuncio of Bucharest, Gerald Patrick O'Hara,
Patrick O'Hara,
and had regular contacts with the bishops,
cu episcopii mei,
I was wanted by the
eram
Securitate.
persoana indicată de care să se
They wished to
servească
use me to
securitatea,
attack the church,
încercând
get information about the church,
să lovească biserica.
relationships between bishops,
Informații despre
and their attitude towards the communist regime in Romania.
bișopurilor între ei și despre atitudinea lor față de regimul comunist nou instalat în România. Atunci, arestat,
Once arrested, I was taken to different places for interrogation, where I was beaten without being asked a single question.
Văzând că presiunea fizică nu obține rezultate,
Since physical abuse produced no results, my torturers began to apply psychological pressure.
un sacureț cu nisip,
They took a bag of sand, the size of a 1 kilogram bottle, and had me beaten on my head.
sacureț de nisip, mă aveam în cap. Spune,
Talk, talk, talk.
de 50 de ori,
50,
de 80 de ori, de 1000 de
80,
ori.
1,000
Nicio
times.
întrebare.
No questions, just talk.
Simțeam că îmi plăsnește.
I felt as if my head was about to crack into pieces. I was asked no questions and only heard talk.
Împotriva unui viciu, acționezi.
One should strive to make a virtue of every temptation. After every blow, when the torturers demanded talk, I kept telling myself, I won't talk. I won't talk. 50, 200, 1,000 times, I won't talk. I could not say anything other than, I won't talk.
S-a adus un câine lup. S-a trebuit să pornesc.
They brought a she-wolf. I had to run across 2 square meters, which meant 2 steps here and 1 step there, until my head was dizzy.
Intervenea lupul.
Every time I stopped, the she-wolf would run in and jump on my back.
Am căzut jos.
When I fell on the floor and my torturers poured a bucket of water on my cheek, I heard them saying, "Do you know how long he has run? 39 hours.
Alergat ăsta.
You should have been sent to the Rio
39
Marathon."
de ore. Pe ăsta să-l trimitem la maratonul de la Rio. După ce mi-au turnat găleata de apă pe obraz,
After they had splashed my face, I felt something warm running down my cheeks. This warmth gave me a pleasant feeling until it came into my eyes and nose and started to sting.
m-a usturat. Am
I
deschis
opened my eyes, looked up,
am uitat sus.
and saw the belly of the she-wolf.
Era burta lupului aici.
I understood that the beast was urinating on my face
Poica,
as a demonstration of the socialist regime's contempt towards man.
ca semn al disprețului pe care regimul socialist îl avea față de om. Erai bătut la tălpi.
I was beaten on my soles until the skin cracked. 2 men with an iron rod beat me. They did it in turn. They could not bear it any longer, but the problem was that I had to bear more.
Problema era ca eu să pot. Era în joia mare.
It was Holy Thursday night. I heard the bells ringing in the nearby church, and I suddenly remembered that Jesus had also been beaten.
Și am strigat.
And just as Jesus had cried out in a loud voice on the cross, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, so I began repeating, Jesus.
Iisuse! Îl chemam pe Iisus
Calling Jesus to be together with me in my suffering.
să suferim împreună. Dar eu nu puteam umbla.
I could not walk. My legs were like a rugby ball. They dragged me to my cell in a blanket and left me.
Și plângeam uitându-mă la rănile mele.
I cried when I saw my wounds, and in my hallucinations, senseless from the beating, I kept telling myself, Jesus wants to kiss me. With these wounds, with these lips filled with blood, Jesus was with me.
Iisus era cu mine. Acest tratament a durat.
The therapy continued. I was beaten for 3 months without any questions asked. I was only to talk. Truth be told, I had no idea what they wanted from me. And then the torturers started to threaten that they would harm my wife. They knew that after our marriage, we had only been together for 3 months, and that my wife was pregnant. We'll bring her here and have her give birth with you watching. We'll beat her until she's in labor here.
Aveau o bandă înregistrată.
They had a recorded tape with the screams of women, and they would tell me, just listen how she screams. I heard and was terrified. Perhaps it wasn't difficult for them to understand that my wife was my critical weakness. However, something told me it couldn't be her. I did not surrender to their threats, but it was the toughest thing that I have ever had to endure.
După ce 2 ani de zile trecusem prin anchete,
After 2 years of interrogation with certain breaks, I was put on trial.
la proces,
The prosecutor, the person who was supposed to accused, declared,
acuzator,
there is no proof of guilt of the accused in his dossier, but we nonetheless ask for a maximum penalty.
dar dacă n-ar fi vinovat,
After all, if he were not guilty, he would not be here.
sancțiunea maximă. I-am spus,
I responded,
domnilor, vreau să aveți
you want to convict me for deeds which the penal code does not include? The deeds you are referring to took place when a different law was in force,
regimul altei legi.
when contacts with nuncios, bishops, and life in the church had not been banned.
Și a trăi într-o biserică nu era interzis. De aceea contest
I do not agree with this interpretation of Romanian laws.
a legislației românești. În concluzie,
As a consequence, the court president replied, 15 years of forced labor.
bineînțeles că am protestat.
I objected,
Domnule președinte,
but it's not possible for you to condemn me without proof. To which he said, not possible? Here's how possible it is. 20 years of forced labor.
Și în loc de 15 a scris 20 de ani muncă silnică. După proces, am fost dus la Ajuda.
After the trial, I was taken to Ajuda. The cells were single, so that prisoners were kept in perfect isolation, so as not to talk.
Când am intrat în acea cameră,
When I came into the cell, there was nothing, no piece of furniture, no bed, no chair or table, only bars and windows without frames.
geamurile erau fără cercevele, nu existau cercevele.
We were taken to the cells
Pentru
naked.
că a fost introduși în celulă în pielea goală. Între timp, anotimpul progresa.
The weather worsened by the day. It was windy and snowing.
Zăpadă. Și în timpul acesta am auzit o bătaie în perete.
Suddenly I heard someone knocking on the
Ce se
wall.
întâmplă la acel perete?
It was Professor Petru Tomescu, the Minister of Health. Please listen to me carefully, he said. Everybody is walking. We have been brought here to be exterminated by freezing to death. Whoever doesn't walk dies. Remember that. I followed his advice obediently and kept walking for 23 hours daily. We would stop at 12 o'clock when the sun's rays lingered in the cells. We would kneel down. The sun would light our faces, but it soon moved on, and after half an hour we were frozen and had to start walking again. We walked without stopping for 4 months. Relentless knocking on the floor of 60 people who walked all the time. Whoever stopped died. Jilava was a prison located about 8 to 10 meters underground. The humidity was so great that nothing could be stored there. However, socialism was inventive and found a good use for this fortification. And though cement would not survive, or saddles, or soldiers' uniforms, or even food would not survive, man did. The windows had been closed and boarded up with nails so that neither air nor light came into the cells. The cells were overcrowded, and some slept on plank beds and others underneath. The humidity would all gather at the very bottom, a black sludge, a mixture of dust, sweat and humidity. But the mixture contained one other ingredient, urine. The result of a large tin container that stood in the middle of that room and into which we could do our business. Thanks to the fruitful activities of the Securitate, new groups of prisoners arrived in Jilava all the time. In the beginning, there were 12 people in a cell, then 20, and still later 40. First, we enjoyed 28 centimeters of space to sleep on. It eventually came to 12 centimeters. We would lie on our sides, and when the bones that touched the plank could no longer endure the pain, one of us would cry out aloud, "I can't bear it any longer." The entire row of men would then turn over on the other side. After an hour, when we could no longer put up with our aching bones, somebody would cry again, and we would once again turn over. A very tough guy from the Ministry of Internal Affairs visited us and asked us, "So how are the political prisoners feeling?" I said, "Sir Lieutenant, is this what socialist humanism looks like? Sitting here with an 80-litre container full of excrements, with the windows nailed up with boards, with no ventilation, is this humanism? We must sleep on our stomachs below the doorsill, 3 at a time, to catch some air coming from the outside. Is this humanism?" The lieutenant replied, "Did you hear, Mr. Commandant? The doorsill is broken. Please take the necessary steps to have the sill changed so that they don't catch a chill."
Ziua următoare au venit un
The next day, a criminal prisoner brought a huge door sill made of a thick board.
spândură groasă.
It was perfectly tight. We felt no puffs of air anymore.
Dar pătrundea la noi, nu mai ajungea. Am lucrat și în fabrica de la Ajuda.
I also worked in a foundry plant in Ajuda, where I moved a large plate weighing more than 400 kilograms.
Care cântărea 400 de kilograme. Unul purta roaba și
Another man would push the wheelbarrow while I held the plate to keep it balanced.
Totuși s-a întâmplat ca să se răstoarne.
One day, the plate turned over and squashed my hand.
Mi-a zdrobit palma. A fost dus la spital.
I was taken to hospital and seen to by a surgical doctor, who decided that I should be brought the next day for an amputation.
Noaptea care a
During the preceding night, I was lying on my back in my cell and crying.
Trebuia să mă prezint la amputare. Stăteam întins pe spate în celulă și plângeam. Aveam niște dureri cumplite.
I suffered great pain because of my shattered hand wrapped in a towel.
În timp ce plângeam, am văzut pe perete.
While crying, I saw a man's silhouette on the wall.
Era monsenorul Ghica.
It was Father
M-a
Ghica,
privit cu
who looked at me tenderly.
blândețe infinită.
He had been dead for more than a year.
De un an,
He blessed me and said, "My son."
fiul meu.
From this moment, my pain dispersed.
Dimineața
In the morning, a militia officer came to take me to the hospital.
a așezat pe masa de operație.
They placed me on the surgical table before the same doctor, who told me that my hand had to be amputated. When the doctor saw my condition, he just said, "It's not that man, take him away."
Marș afară. Și ne-a scos din spital.
They discharged me from the hospital without any surgical
Nu știam
procedure.
ce s-a întâmplat.
I didn't know what happened, only that I didn't feel any pain.
Și mergând de la
When I
spital
returned
spre
from the hospital to the
închisoare,
prison,
aveam
the
soare
sun
în față
shone on my face,
și mi-a venit în minte
and I remembered what Father Ghica used to say:
al monsenorului Ghica, care spune,
"When you approach God, you have a shadow on your back.
Dumnezeu,
When you
ai
withdraw from God,
umbra în spate.
the shadow is before you,
Cât te
on your
îndepărtezi de
face."
Dumnezeu, umbra îți este în față. Și am intrat în închisoare fără să fiu preot.
I wasn't yet a priest when they put me into
Dar în
prison.
închisoare mi-am trăit voia.
In prison, I became aware of my calling.
Fiecare zi,
Every day I used to give teachings and pray. I prayed the rosary together with a group of fellow prisoners.
cu grupul meu de camarazi, în lungile perioade de închisoare,
The whole of my time in detention, when I lived without the Eucharist,
rugăciune
prayers became the only means of spiritual communication.
și făceam comunicare.
I joined in communion with God and believed that everything around me was theophany,
Și socoteam
a form of emanation of God's presence.
manie, adică manifestare a prezenței lui Dumnezeu. Pentru că rugăciunea îl
Prayers brought God to us, and nobody, not even atheists, could remain impervious to His presence.
nu se putea să nu fie sensibil la prezența lui Dumnezeu. Deci am fost dus la Lugoj.
I was transported to Lugoj. Something had changed in the political atmosphere in Europe.
Și a venit la vorbitor soția mea cu fiica mea.
My wife and my daughter came. I didn't know the latter because she was born when I was in prison.
Fiica mea a intrat singură în...
My daughter came into the room alone. Nobody called her, and I was shocked how they could leave a 6-year-old child alone among militia officers. But my daughter recognized me, even though she'd never seen me before, and she called out, "Daddy." Direct contact with prisoners was disallowed, but the militia officer, who was the commandant, seeing the girl, asked my wife when was the last time she had seen him. My wife replied, "She's never seen him. She was born in his absence." The girl was 6 years old. The situation moved the commandant, and so he took her past the wires that separated us so that I could touch my daughter. I kissed my daughter. I will never forget that feeling. I felt as if I had been hurt by a piece of wire, a kiss cut by communist wires. I was granted the right to receive post. Amongst the medicines I received was a bottle. The militia officer who distributed the packages had to check every object sent to us. He took the bottle, opened it and tried the contents, but spat it out. He couldn't bear the bitter taste of it. He gave me the bottle. I took it to my cell and tasted it. It was wine, an unforgettable taste, a product of my own vineyard, which could not be mistaken with any other, and was by no means bitter. But God made a miracle. The militia officer who tasted it thought it was bitter and spat it out. We celebrated the Holy Mass with this wine. We poured 8 drops of wine and 1 drop of water into penicillin bottles. And on every Sunday we, believers, would gather. One man, a well-known Orthodox priest, asked me to allow to participate in our liturgy. I told him, "But Father, this is a Catholic Mass. We have the same Eucharist, both we Orthodox and you Catholics. The Eucharist united us. Presumably the unity of the Church in the future will stem from a common understanding of the Eucharist." We kept the Holy Bread with us, not knowing who would need it in the coming days. We hid it in our cell. One day, having come back from work, one of the most cruel militia officers stood near my bed, waiting for me. He took a bag made by us and asked, "What is this? You? Holy bread?" I said, "Yes." and then the pieces of bread fell out onto the table and rolled further onto the floor. I knelt down and started to lick all the places where the Holy Eucharist lay. I collected everything that could be collected and stood up, whereas that beast militia officer asked me, "Do you really believe?" I burst into tears and said, "Yes, Mr. Commandant, I believe." Hearing that, the man softened, and on leaving the cell said, "Pray also for my wife because she is ill. She had cancer." When I was on the verge of endurance, in order to have the strength to go on, I used to tell myself, "With you, Christ, through you, Christ, and all for your greatest glory." It wasn't an evil place. It was the place of my consecration. It was a place where many people found faith, atoned for their sins. So the devil, if he wanted to make us suffer, in reality served both us and God's sanctifying plan. The devil was there, but he sat aside, biting his fingers, seeing how he had stirred our love for Jesus.
E assim, com esta viagem ao tenebroso mundo da Roménia no tempo do Bloco de Leste, chegamos ao fim de mais um Igreja no Mundo aqui na sua televisão. Despeço-me com amizade. Até ao próximo programa, se Deus quiser.